This video is from Dale Dufay about 7 years ago. This is his second video he made, and that's when he found out that he has a soul, and he got moved from the Sagittarius arm constellation to the Orion Spur, 70,000 or 80,000 light years away, and he's trying to wrap his mind around it and trying to understand it. But we understood it was Jehovah that caused the Mandela effect.
In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the internal changes that helps keep me grounded on the fact that I am on a completely different Earth that I call Terra B. I always had kind of, somewhat minor cardiovascular problems. So I know, my heart, and it always used to be left to center on our chest, always quite a bit, off center. But here on Terra B, our heart is, practically dead center. And then another real strange one is the rib cage. We always had, I think it was 3 rows at least of lower rows of our rib cage. We're floating in the front. Here they're all attached to the sternum. So there's that, and then the skull. Always remember the skull, human skull in Terra A. The eye sockets were hollow. And here there's a solid bone behind the eye socket. So, I'm sure, a lot of the intestinal organs are different. Again, I'm not going to go into, what I'm not familiar with. I'm not too familiar, familiar enough with anatomy to know the differences I'm aware of. So, again, that's one of the things that keeps you grounded, realizing, it's different Dale with the, conscience from a Dale and from Terra B, from Terra A, which is, vastly, we're talking 70,000 light years. How can a human soul travel, 70,000 light years in a blink of an eye? Again, it has to, it has to be Jehovah. He's the only one that could do that. So, what does it mean? Again, we look at other theories, and nobody puts him in the equation, so they overcomplicate it. Just, what was the latest one I heard? That, the coastlines or this earth and the map of the earth is just changing before our very eyes. And, people are, focusing all their attention on that and spotting differences, and, on the globe, Google Earth and whatnot. They seem to fail to see the big picture, which is obviously something's happening, something very important, very, very significant. So, I feel like sometimes I'm the only one that has this figured out. I don't get it, because again, to me, it just seems so simple. Put Jehovah involved and realize what's going on, and it's like you get a glimpse of the big picture. And I keep looking and looking, and there doesn't seem to be anybody out there that's thinking on the same line that I am. I mean, like I said, there's a lot that realize it's spiritual. It's Jehovah that's in charge. He's the one that's going to dictate what happens. So it remains to be seen. Again, there's a lot to talk about on this topic. It's huge. You know, I ponder constantly about it. It's phenomenal. You know, think about it. You know, I can only know of the two Dales. I only know two Dales. I don't know if there could be more. You know, the only reason I think there's more is because, you know, there's a group, the group that, you know, coined the phrase Mandela effect. You know, they, on their earth, Nelson Mandela was killed in prison in the 80s. So, you know, that didn't happen on this Terra B, and it didn't happen on Terra A. So, you know, there's proof positive that there is another Terra involved. So, you know, again, how many? You know, I don't know if it's important to know, but again, I can see it. I can see 12. You know, but it's a big galaxy. You know, and obviously we have to be thousands of light years apart to ever, you know, so we can never ever detect one another. But, you know, there's still room for many, many more. So who knows? You know, it's a very interesting, I mean, this whole thing just blows philosophy and everything. Philosophy, physics, everything right out the window. You know, so I'm glad I didn't spend too much time in school in physics and philosophy and stuff, because it's all, you know, being rewritten now. It's all different now. And, you know, it's glorious and wonderful, really. So, but it's going to be hard to convince people who don't experience this, and I can't blame them, really, you know. How do you tell somebody something they've been told is impossible, you know, all their lives? You know, I never knew I had a soul. You know, I found out I got a soul. You know, found out I'm an astronaut. I traveled 70,000 light years. My soul did. You know, that's fantastic. I mean, again, like I said before, if that's not spiritual, I don't know what is. You know, it's very, very wonderful. It's like life's all over again, learning things all over again. And it helps to understand what's going on, because then you can enjoy it and not be scared. But one thing that is kind of weird, not weird, but not scary either, but, you know, any way you look at it. But the one thing I did notice coming here is, you know, this Earth definitely seems to be in peril, you know, compared to Terra A. It seems like, you know, there's always the, you know, end of the world thing going on. But it seemed like that was a ways off in Terra A. You know, I got here and feel like I came into a world of peril, in peril. So, I know, I'm not sure what that's all about. And, you know, again, I got to be careful, but you know, I think it's a blessing. It's wonderful. I look forward to, you know, what the future brings in all this. You know, it can only be good if Jehovah's involved. I mean, I know he's involved, so it can only be good. So, you know, with that, sign off and, you know, do some more. There's a lot to talk about.